Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you all?
Well.
Y'all look good. So glad you're here. We're going to bifurcate the agenda just a bit and hear from one of our very special guests. If you would just oblige me for a moment. Cross Barrett.
Hello, fellow 7th floor residents. My name is Cross Barrett. Thank you for attending this event. We are all here because this is a kickoff for my mom, Keiana Barrett. Like many young people, my sister and I need leaders to help us be safe and help us become the leaders of tomorrow. I hope you will enjoy your evening and continue to support my mommy. Enjoy the food.
We will.
Brian, you coming up? Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm honored that I was asked to say something about my friend, Keiana Barrett. I think is the perfect candidate. So I just jotted a few things down. One thing that we look for in a candidate when we want to support him, we should always ask the three questions. Are they qualified? Are they experienced? And are they ready to lead? And it's no secret that Keiana ran the 7th Ward by being the Chief of Staff and the Alderman at the same time. I've been a superintendent for 10 years, and in that time, I worked with a lot of elected officials and never saw one that could do 2 jobs at the same time. So I just jotted down a few things, 4 points, and then I'm going to take my seat. The first thing, innovative leader. By using technology, Keiana kept the residents in the 7th Ward informed. She had guys go out and put flyers out. She had guys, she went door to door. She used the robocall system. And she also made sure that monthly newsletters went out every month to let people know what was going on in the ward. Second thing, Keiana's a critical thinker. We regularly drove through the ward, block by block. And Keiana tried to figure out ways how we can make things better, how we can make those street lights brighter. How can we do the same thing that we're doing now, but be more cost effective for the city and more efficient. She's a reliable servant. She went out and purchased vests and gloves and tools from Home Depot and had me and my guys go out, block to block, cleaning senior citizens' yards and cleaning alleys. Because she understands that seniors are old now. They can't get out and cut their bushes in their alleys back like they used to. So Keiana set up an alley cleaning program, and we would go by and we would help those seniors. With vacant abandoned buildings, we have a lot of them in the 7th Ward, and sometimes it takes the city a long time to come and board that stuff up. So what Keiana did, she made us go out and board those buildings up. And the last thing, when the temperature was 90 degrees and above, Keiana bought ice and water and had us go out and do well-being checks for the seniors and made sure that they were okay. No alderman in the city of Chicago was doing that kind of stuff. Keiana was doing that. And she's a progressive fighter. No matter what you may hear, Keiana and her team closed down 3 liquor stores on 75th Street. I don't know if you all have ever worked on closing liquor stores down, but it's a very tedious task. You have to really be fighting because those guys do not want to lose their businesses. There's a lot of marches that were planned, a lot of meetings that was held, and a lot of people had to go door to door with those petitions to get those liquor stores closed down. So, I just want to say, to me, Keiana is the perfect candidate, and now is the perfect time for a fresh start.
Good evening again, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you so much, Ryan and Cross and Wendell. And Thank you to all of you. I feel like this is a big family reunion, so this is great. When I look out and I see such wonderful people and smiling faces, this is such a pivotal moment in my life, and to have you all here is truly a blessing. I have prepared a speech, and but I think I'm going to do something a little different. I know my campaign team is always on me about following campaigning one-on-one, and I'm still in remedial as far as that's concerned.
No, you're
They're
not.
going to really be mad. But I just feel as though I want to have a conversation with you all, because I think that's what we need to do more so than anything else. People ask me, and it's a common question, why are you running? Why do you want to be alderman? And that's a common question, and I've given it a great deal of thought. And I don't consider myself running at all. I see myself building a movement, because that's what we need. We need sustainable solutions. And where do they come from? They come from this room. They come from the collective mass. That's where they come from. And so what I'm inspired to do is to organize. So this is an organizing meeting. That's what we have. With a little food, remember, I'm sure I've got some people here that, back in the day, the civil rights movement, that's what happened. You get together, break bread, and then you have thought partners, and you figure out how do we organize and mobilize and make our voices heard. So that's what this is about. This is an organizing meeting. So welcome to our first 7th Ward Fresh Start Organizing meeting. We're going to have many of them, so get to know your neighbor, look at them good. That's right. So for me, it's really important that in order for us to really process where we are today, and it's funny because I almost hate to turn on the news, and I'm a news junkie, but I almost hate to do it in the morning because I'm thinking, what in the world has transpired last night? From kids getting shot, to young ladies even now that have access to guns and having an adult with them to help aid them in dealing with an altercation over a boy. I mean, that's amazing to me. When we talk about the pension crisis, you work hard every day, you certainly want to know when you retire that you're going to be entitled to get your money. That's just only fair. So dealing with that. Then we're worried about our property taxes. And how's that going to look? How are we going to make ends meet? And then if property taxes are going up, people are going to move. And we're going to have boarded up houses on our blocks. And we don't need that. We don't need the middle class vacating our communities. We need them to be vested. So when you think about all these different things that are happening, for me it's important that we take a look at our history, because that says a lot. That helps us understand where we are and who we are. Many people say that the best way to disenfranchise a person is to strip them of their history or access to their past. And clearly we see that playing out today because our young people have no regard for their life, let alone yours, because they know not from which they've come. They don't understand it. And that's up to us, the collective, to do our job to ensure that they understand the richness of who they are. Some of these young people don't have parents at home. They don't have grandparents that can share with them stories and struggles. They don't have that. So the gangs serve as the perfect den for them to take up shop. So we can't just look at that kid on the block, because we all know there's a couple of families on the block in the neighborhood. We work with a couple, and we just look at them and see them coming and shake our head and close the blinds. We can't have that, approach to it. We've got to reach out and help them, even if they don't know they need the help. We've got to make that available. On the 17th of May, we will celebrate the 60th anniversary of Brown v. Board of Education. And that ruling basically ruled that separate and unequal education for public schools was unconstitutional. Now some of you may say, well, we live through that today. Now that I work for CPS, I understand and have a certain set of optics. And I know a lot of us in this room probably have a diversity of thought about whether charter or private, how many people here are product of the public school system. Let me see, show here. All right. We make good stuff. We produce good stuff. But it's a different day now. And we have to recognize that. And so there's an onus again that comes back to us. I see all the time when there are communities that come down to the board meeting, and they normally don't look a lot like us, but they are very activated, they're very engaged, they're very knowledgeable about what's happening in their neighborhood schools. And they make demands. We wait until the school gets on the turnaround list, and now we mad because it's been on probation for 30 years. And say, don't close the school because I went there, my sisters went there, and everybody went there. But is it educating our children? Do the teachers have what they need in order to teach? These are the kinds of questions that we need to ask. And how do we ask them? Because we get involved. We serve on a local school council. We develop community action councils. We go to parent-teacher conferences where you know your kid's teacher, and you sitting with them and going over your son's homework. I know Cross's teachers very, very well. So that's the kind of engagement that we need to have. So when we talk about the education system, the investments also start not only through government, because something I want you to know is that we have to also recognize that there's some inequities in funding. And you're hearing more and more about that. But the state of Illinois is ranked last in how it ranks and how it provides funding for school systems, and particularly for Chicago public school systems. And so again, it's important that we know this so that when we're talking to our elected officials, we're talking to them from an informed perspective. We know exactly what we need. And that's so important that we understand that. And how do we know and how do we exercise our right and how do we make sure that our electeds know that? It's through voting. So on June 2nd of this year, we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act, which, what did that do? That ruled it was unconstitutional to discriminate against anybody due to race, origin, religion. And we see many times now that what's happening is, and that was a stepping stone to the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965, and that protected our right to the ballot. Now, we've since seen that there are attempts to undermine even that, but we undermine it for ourselves and don't vote. So part of our organizing meeting is that we're going to make sure that we're all registered to vote. If you moved, if you got married, change your last name, if you're going to be 18 by election day, you need to make sure that you are registered to vote. And not only you, but everybody in your household that is eligible, you need to make, that needs to be a family exercise. We do that as a group. We all go to the polls. And we take our neighbors to the polls. But before we even get to the polls, we educate ourselves on who we're voting for to make sure that what their agenda is in line with what our agenda is. And how do we do that? We go to their office and we talk to them before election day. So there can be no absence of thought about what we need, because we're joining with them in a partnership to improve our communities. It's not up to them to automatically know what we need. We have to tell them. But we've got to work and have responsible leaders that are willing to make the unpopular decisions, because it's to do the right thing. So again, a part of what I want this to be is not so much a kickoff for the campaign, but a kickoff for us coming together as a community. Now, many of you in the room may not be 7th Ward residents. And we've got spaces and houses and property available if you'd like to. I'll be looking at the sign-in sheet. And I got some relatives in the house, so we'll be following up with you on that. But many times people say, well, I don't live in the ward. You know, you're telling me to come and support your friend Keiana, all that. Why? Well, what's important is our city council does not just represent their individual ward. They are representing the city of Chicago. So we need to have conscious-minded alderpersons, 50 of them, that are in tune with the needs of our community. So they understand what we need and the importance of that. And it's larger than just the issues of whether or not we want to get $1.3 million that we've had for the past 10 years as the amount that is used in each ward to handle all your capital improvement projects. So when you want to get that speed hump on your block, because people race up and down the block, or you want to get the new ornamental street lights and have a little separate arm on them that look attractive, or you want to get a new sidewalk, any of those things that comes out of that pool of money, that money hasn't increased in over 10 years. But every item on the menu is what it's called, the cost to do that work has skyrocketed. Plus you have certain areas of the city, now with the remap, so some of you now may be in a different ward than you were in before, so please make sure you check that out as well so you know exactly what ward you're in. But there's the sizes of certain wards are so massive, you could almost fit 2 other wards inside of that one. But we got the same 1.3 that everybody else has to cover this, a much broader landscape. So we need to have city council members that understand that, and that's going to fight for parity and a system that is equitable to the needs of our communities. So that's why it's important for you to come out and get to know me and get to know other members that are running, because these are the types of votes that are going to have to be cast that will impact our entire city. I talk many times about the fact that it's so important for us to go back to days of old. I remember when I grew up, we had a block club. And I remember we just did this a couple of weeks ago for spring break. How many of you remember when spring break was called cleanup week? Yeah. So we had to clean up. Mom had us transition in the closets from winter stuff to summer stuff and getting rid of stuff and raking and those things. But that's important. And so many times our young people don't have a constructive and meaningful exercise to do. Many times on our blocks, we don't know our neighbor. We couldn't say their name if our life depended upon it, because we really don't want to know them. But I promise you that the knuckleheads, they know your block, and they know your neighbors, and they know that you don't know your neighbor. And that's what helps them set up shop. So I encourage you tonight, when you get home, if you see, hey, Mr. Johnson, how you doing? Have some dialogue. Because while we think that it's a crime issue and it's all on law enforcement, they can't be everywhere all the time. But by having a fortified relationship with your neighbor, that's one of the best defenses that you have. If you're coming in late and you can call your neighbor and ask them to look out for you. I remember when if I was cutting up and my mom and dad weren't home yet, my neighbor was going with me and then tell my mother she was going with me too when she got home. Now we don't whip our own kid, let alone talking or telling about some other kid, because we they may curse me out, so I'm not going to even dare say nothing to that little boy. But again, it's our responsibility to make relationships, to reach out to people. So, there are a couple of things that I need from you. More than just your presence tonight, which is tremendous, and I so appreciate that. I was telling some members of my team, it's you use a different set of muscles. You can say you work out all the time, but then you do a Zumba class or something, you're like, ooh, I felt that one, because it's just you're doing some different things. So having been a staffer for so many years, and I'm so grateful for that experience, and I'm unapologetic about my experiences. As Brian talked about, I was the chief of staff for the 7th Ward, and I'm a realist before I'm anything. So I understand that what transpired with Sandy Jackson left an indelible imprint on this ward. And as a result of that, there's a lot of people who are dispirited, who are disgusted, who are angry. And I understand that. It was more than just a job for me. It was a lifestyle. So I get that. But we're forward facing now. We can do nothing about what happened then, but we have everything to do with what happens next. And so for many of you that I see around the room, the reason why I say family is because I feel like we're family. I know your families. I know the needs that you come to the office with. I understand that. And that's important for this job. to know your community, to know the need, to know the propensity for change. But not only do you need to know your community, but you got to know how to navigate at City Hall, because that's a beastly process. I mean, anybody that knows, sometimes to just get, Tanya was just trying to get her water shut off because she was having an issue, and that couldn't happen. So it's a lot of bureaucracy in government, but you got to have relationships, and you got to know how to navigate through and around, and that's very important. And being a staffer, I have had that opportunity to do so and still have some of those relationships today, which are very important. But you've also got to recognize that you can't do this work in isolation. I'd be foolish if I stood here and told you I have a silver bullet, and with that I can solve all the problems of the ward. I can't. But I believe that we've got some golden opportunities, and together we can seize and capitalize on all of those. So from here, because I always believe in when you leave, cross the threshold, you want to be more inspired and informed than you were before. So I want us to feel empowered to do some things. So a part of this whole movement is that we're doing service in action. I'm not just going to show up a couple of days before the election and say, "Hi, I'm Keiana. I'm running for alderman. Can you vote for me?" I want you to see me out in the community doing things, and you're saying, "Wow, I'm so glad you're running. How can I get involved? How can I help?" So certainly, as Wendell said, financial support is always a plus. Because, this is a beautiful, beautiful place, and thank you to the owners of this spot. And I have a quick little story to tell about it. So I was looking for a place to have this event. And I know you all want to have things nice, and I wanted y'all to feel nice. So I kept thinking, wow, what do we have in the ward that would make my family feel nice? And I didn't have that many options, unfortunately, that were size, capacity, and all the things that we were looking for. And so honestly, we had found the location that was outside of the ward. And one of my dear trusted friends, Trevor Thompson, and one of his dear friends recommended this place. And I had driven past here 1,000 times and never paid it any attention, honestly speaking. And some of you may be able to attest to that as well. But when I came in and I saw it, I was just blown away about what a quality upscale place this is. And the fact that it resides in the 7th Ward. And it affirmed what I knew, which is that we have some of the best assets, but if we listen to the media, it'll portray us as something totally different. So we got to change the optics and how we see ourselves and how we feel about each other. So a part of what I want to do is to establish more institution in the 7th Ward. So we don't have to venture out other places because we want to have a nice upscale restaurant or a nice place. I know we talk about liquor stores. I'm not anti-business, but instead of having some mom and pop, brown bag liquor store, how about having a nice Benny's where they can do some wine tasting and some pairings? We talk about cooking classes. We don't mind places like that are going to be good community citizens and corporate community partners for us. But we don't need another business that's going to allow for folks to sell loose squares all out in front. I can't even get in because you loose swear me. So those are the kinds of businesses that got to go. And they got to know that right away, that this isn't a place for you. So you got to take that somewhere else. But again, it's about us getting involved. So one of the things that we're going to be doing very soon is a career development workshop. Now, people are always talking, we need jobs. We have no jobs, and people wouldn't have lost their homes, and jobs, and the kids wouldn't be on the street. Well, yes. But we also, there's a couple of, preliminary steps before jobs. And I know I've got some HR people in the house. We've got to make sure our people are employable. And so many times there are opportunities, but we miss out on them because we've come to the interview in our flip-flops. Or with our hands hanging half down. So that's not the best representation. Or we have our resume folded up, we got to get it out of our pocket. Some of our people, that's all they know. So it's up to us, and I know we're professionals in here. Everybody in here has had a job at some point. Even, God bless our retirees. I look forward to being there one day. but you work for some company. I need to know that name of that company and hopefully the person in HR. So that when we host this career development workshop and this job fair, I can invite that company out and they can have a table to talk about open positions or future opportunities. So we have a robust presentation and slate of employers. And also for those of you who can serve as counselors to help people understand the importance of how to interview and how to dress for success. And speaking of dressing for success, if we ever get summertime, then I know some of you have some clothes in the closet that don't quite fit like they used to last summer, maybe. Could be too big, too small, I didn't say. But either way, you could separate yourself from them. So we would gladly take those, gently used business attire, that we could help some of our community members go to an interview and put their best foot forward. So that's something each of you can do. This is all sport. This is all play. So these are ways that you can continue to help. Because yes, we do need jobs. But I want employers to say, I am coming to the 7th Ward because they have a wealth of talent. And I need to align myself with them. So that's one way you can help. We are also going to be doing a great deal of service projects. And with that, we need manpower. So many of you that are part of different organizations, whether fraternities and sororities, I see my ships are here. So, we celebrated our anniversary yesterday, so happy anniversary, stars. We need you all to help us in executing these service projects. So if your organization or you have young people that you work with and they need community service hours, we've got a wealth of opportunities for them to do that. So to wrap a bow around all of this, I am so grateful that you all are here. I'm inspired, I'm excited. I have to admit there are moments where I am scared because, this is an experience. But I am trusting that this is the Lord's assignment and His will, and my mama and I go back and forth over it many times. But I'm grateful to you all. I can feel your presence and your prayers, and so I thank you for that very, very much. And I look forward to us having many of these gatherings to talk about how we can further organize and mobilize and do the things that we need to do. Matthew 25:34 says, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was lonely, you comforted me. So I leave that with you because there are many persons within our community that are hungry, that are lonely, that are thirsty. And if we're truly about doing God's work and rebuilding our communities, then it's our responsibility to take the first step to make that happen. So I look forward to working hand in hand with each and every one of you as we not only transform the 7th Ward, but we change the whole narrative about the city of Chicago, and we make it a place that our young people can feel safe, and we can feel good about working, playing, and owning homes, and buying more property, and shopping in our neighborhoods. So we got a lot of work to do, but we got some able bodies, and I am so excited about this. So we are kicking off a fresh start. So again, thank you so much for your presence, and let's get to work.